Hey guys, what's up? It's Alex here. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be previewing the Chinese Grand Prix, the third race of the 2019 Formula 1 season. And unfortunately, I'm going to be missing the Grand Prix, but in my eyes, it's for the greater good because that day, the 14th of April, is race day for me. That's my first ever motor race. I'm partaking in a club level motor race in the United Kingdom at Brands Hatch on that day, and I'm really excited. So yeah, it is for the greater good. I mean, I hate missing Formula 1 races, but at the same time, when I'm taking part in my own race, that's probably a little bit more exciting for me personally. So I'm really looking forward to it. But nonetheless, you may notice that I'm wearing a t-shirt from this. So we're creating a university documentary about this. It's going to be a 20-minute documentary for YouTube. And then we're going to hopefully create like a 60 to 90-minute feature-length documentary in the coming months after we finish uni. Because we have so much footage, we can create a much longer documentary than we're allowed to for university. So we're restricted for university, which kind of sucks. But the full cut will come soon. But nonetheless, you probably realise I'm wearing a t-shirt that we've got. It's got all the sponsors, the number of the car, and it looks pretty decent. I think it looks pretty alright. But yeah, basically we ordered these t-shirts for Kickstarter backers. So if you ordered, I think it was over, was it 30 quid, 25, 30 quid? You got a t-shirt, and we appreciate everyone that donated that amount. But we did order some extra ones. So if you're interested in buying a t-shirt like this, let me know in the comment section down below. It would be for a relatively low cost, so I'd really appreciate if you'd, gauge your interest in the comment section down below. But nonetheless, let's jump in to the Chinese Grand Prix preview. So it's definitely crazy how a couple of weeks can change a lot, because when I was doing that last preview video, I was like, I don't think Ferrari have got a chance of winning a Grand Prix for a very long time. And then they pretty much go and nearly win the Bahrain Grand Prix. They would have easily won the Bahrain Grand Prix if they didn't have the technical issues with the car, which was nothing down to the driver, nothing down to a lot of the team, just I guess a little part failing in there, which kind of sucks for the guys. But yeah, maybe nearly a second delta between where Ferrari were in Australia to where they were in Bahrain. So very exciting times ahead, I think, for this championship battle. I think we thought after Australia, oh, this is going to be it again, isn't it? Another Mercedes championship, nice easy walk away. Well, maybe, if anything, this could be the strongest position that Ferrari have been in over the last couple of years. They look pretty good come Bahrain. There's genuine pace there, which is really exciting to see. So if we look ahead to China, I think the track holds more characteristics of Bahrain than it does of Australia. Australia is a very tight and twisty sort of straight track in a way, whilst Bahrain is quite an open flowing track, and I think China is pretty similar to that. Obviously China has longer straights than Bahrain. Well, I'm pretty sure one of the straights is longer than Bahrain, but yeah, it has some long straights like a lot of the Tilke tracks over the last sort of 20 years. Big old long straights and then like curly little twisty bits here and there. So it holds a lot of the characteristics similar to Bahrain, so you'd kind of feel that the result would be similar. So I feel like I'm going to throw out a bold statement here about who I think is going to win this Grand Prix, because of recent form and recent videos on this channel, I probably wouldn't bet on Sebastian Vettel winning a Grand Prix in the next couple of races, because it's not all happening for him right now. But I'm going to be different. I'm going to go out there and say Sebastian Vettel is going to win the Chinese Grand Prix, which I'm looking forward to seeing the comments on that one, especially after the first couple of races have definitely shown that Charles Leclerc seems to have the upper hand on Vettel so far this season, and the fact that Vettel couldn't really even battle against the Mercedes in Bahrain, even though the Ferrari was a better car. I'm just counting against myself, really. I mean, the sensible option, considering that Ferrari is probably going to be the faster car, we're probably going to say that the safer option in terms of who's going to get the race victory is Charles Leclerc. But I'm not going to go for that. I'm going to go for a little bit different. I mean, everyone's against Vettel right now. Obviously, it's not all gone his way. So I'm going to be different. I'm going to say Sebastian Vettel is going to win this race with Charles Leclerc just behind. It's a bold statement considering that the turn of events over the start of this season, but we'll see what happens. Before we continue with this video, I've got a private announcement, and that is that today's video is sponsored by Uni Days. I've been working with them on a social media campaign for Mother's Day over the last couple of weeks, and I've been really happy to be working with them. So over the next 2 minutes or so, you'll see a little vlog that I put together treating my mum to a great experience this Mother's Day. And I definitely encourage you guys to go and check out the link in the description down below and sign up for Uni Days. If you're a student, age 16 or above, there are some great discount codes over there for you guys to get involved with and save a lot of money. So watch this little promo that I put together for them. I'm really happy that they sponsored me in today's video, so a massive thank you to them. I've been working with Uni Days ahead of Mother's Day to make this the most special one yet for my mum. I'm personally really excited to be working with them, as I've been using the Uni Days app for a number of years now, since I started university back in 2016. They really helped me in the process of finding my mum a gift. When I first thought about getting a present for my mum, I went through the Uni Days website, as they have a wide range of deals and discounts, including food and clothes. The list does go on. I saw they do experiences too, which is perfect, as I went to Switzerland and Austria over the past year with my mum, and I'll cherish those moments forever. I've been to the Chatham Dockyards in Kent previously with my friends a few years ago when filming for university, and I knew my mum would love it. Like myself, my mum is really interested in history and exploring great local attractions, so I knew that I had to book this experience day, as I think it would be great for Mother's Day. I booked this experience using 20% discount I got through the Uni Days website. As I'm a student and on a student budget, getting through university is hard enough, so every little discount I can get on top of my purchase really does help out. I absolutely love this day out with my mum, looking around the ships and the scenery that made this part of the country so important back in the day, and I wanted to share what we saw with you today in this video. Remember, if you're a student aged 16 or above, you can also use the Uni Days app for free and get a wide range of discounts throughout the year. There is a link in the description box to sign up, and I'd highly recommend you do this. A fantastic Mother's Day. I hope you had a great one yourselves, and thanks to Uni Days for helping me out, making sure this Mother's Day was a special one for both me and my mum. So I do kind of feel that Ferrari have the better car on wide open tracks. Like we saw in Bahrain, I think it's going to be somewhat similar in China. So I think we'll probably see the Ferrari cars quicker, but I don't think the Mercedes cars are going to be a million miles behind. I think Lewis Hamilton at this point is pretty much amazing at whatever track he goes to. It doesn't really matter at this point. He's always on it, and he's always, close to getting a victory, if not winning a race. So he's always there, so we can never count out Lewis Hamilton. I mean, okay, he lucked into the Bahrain Grand Prix victory, but nonetheless, he still won another Grand Prix, which is just insane. We're literally living in a time where some of the greatest drivers in Formula 1 history are, right in front of our eyes, which is quite incredible and really exciting as well to be able to live in this period, especially having the year of sort of Schumacher and then having the year of like Alonso. It's mega. It really is mega to have people like Hamilton, Vettel, people upcoming like Verstappen, Leclerc. It's going to be really exciting. But I'm going to say Ferrari going to be slightly ahead of Mercedes here in China. As for the third best car, it's probably going to be Red Bull. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. Right now, they're sort of in the middle of nowhere. They're not really close enough to be close to the top two teams on a normal race weekend. But then again, they're probably quite substantially ahead of the next best car, whatever that may be, whether that be a Haas, whether that be a Renault, whether that be something else. I mean, McLaren, to be perfectly honest, they had a pretty good Bahrain Grand Prix with a great result there from Lando Norris, and probably a very good result was coming their way with Carlos Sainz. So, interesting, but I do think Red Bull will be the third best car. That's not really a very controversial opinion. I think that's just pretty much the fact right now. They're a bit too slow to be top two cars, and they're probably too quick to be caught up by the rest right now. But nonetheless, who do I think is going to be the fourth best car? Well, I keep wanting to say Renault, and the problem is I think they probably are the fourth best team in terms of outright speed, but they just don't have the reliability in that right now. I mean, it's like, what's happening with Renault? I mean, all of the memes and all that sort of stuff that were happening with Honda over the last couple of years have sort of transferred over to Renault now. Their engines are blowing up left, right and centre. They're just having so many issues, and it's tough to watch really, because Hülkenberg and Ricciardo, two very talented drivers who you both think will probably win race. They probably will win races, I'd say, at Renault at some point in the next sort of 3 years if they stay there. Maybe that's quite a bold opinion, I don't know, but I think Renault will eventually catch up to the top, but we'll see with that one. But right now, it's hard to imagine that, considering their cars are struggling to get to the end of the race, let alone going for race victories. So we'll see what happens with Renault, but I'll probably say right now they're going to be the fourth best team in China. But I don't think they're going to be a million miles ahead of anyone else. I think the midfield is incredibly close this year, and I'm really, really excited to see what happens, because I think this is going to be a mega year, and we've got to keep watching out for what happens, because I think it's going to be a great one. To be the fourth best team on the grid is probably going to be more exciting than the battle for the championship. Maybe that's just my opinion, but maybe it's always been the case, I don't know, but I'm really, really looking forward to the midfield battle this season. So if we look at the championship standings right now, Kimi Raikkonen is sitting in the best of the rest positions. Now, in the 2 races we've had, he's not finished in the best of the rest positioning, but because he's ultra consistent, Kimi, he's now 6th place in the championship, just behind his old teammate Sebastian Vettel, which is really interesting. But after China, is he going to still be in that position? Because we've seen the Renaults, they've been quick. The Haas cars, they've been quick. I mean, I say McLaren at this point, they're looking pretty tasty as well. They're going to probably get some good results. And the thing is, I don't know whether... Do you think Alfa Romeo has the budget behind them to develop at the rate of someone like Renault or maybe McLaren? I don't know. It's really interesting to see on this one. But I'm going to say, because we've got ultra consistent Kimi in that car, we're going to see him still being in 6th place in the standings after this race, unless Gasly has an incredible performance and managed to get a substantial amount of points. But I think Raikkonen, you know, he'll be in the top 10. He always is. So I feel like he'll probably grab some more points and keep the best of the rest positioning until after this Grand Prix. So that's great for him and great for all the Kimi fans around the world. So I think, yeah, I think he probably will stay best of the rest after this in the championship standings. But Haas, what happened in Bahrain? Of course, we know what happened with Grosjean. He crashed again. But in terms of... They were backtracking. I'm not deving a dig at Grosjean, but he always seems to get involved in something. I mean, it's just unlucky for the guy, even when it's not really his fault. I mean, that was Stroll's fault, smashing into the side of him. But Grosjean, he's always in the wrong place at the wrong time right now. I feel sorry for that guy, because he is such a genuinely nice guy, and it's just horrible to see him go through these situations, especially after the really tough period of 2012, 2013. But nonetheless, Haas, I mean, what happened in Bahrain? Does anyone know? Because they seemed alright in quali, and then, you know, when we get to the race, they like self-destruct. I mean, I don't know what happened to Magnussen. I don't know what strategy they were trying, but it definitely didn't work out. He dropped way down the order. I think he was basically just ahead of the 2 Williams cars and people who had issues in the race. So I don't know what happened to him. I feel like the Haas car is very close to the Renault. I think Haas, McLaren and Renault are very close about being the 4th best car on the grid, so that's going to be exciting to see. But I don't know what happened to those guys in Bahrain. It was a terrible race for them. I don't know what happened, but they're going to move on from that, and I think they'll probably score a point or 2 come China. But I don't think Haas is quite as strong as Renault this year. It's close, but I don't think they're quite as strong. And the fact that McLaren seem to be making waves is also quite exciting for the British Formula 1 fans, but also probably a bit of a worry for Haas, who might be completely knocked out of the points in the next couple of races. We will see. Their driver lineup might have to save them on that with all the experience they have within the Haas team. I've got a note here to say Gasly needs to perform. I mean, I don't know whether people have really picked up on this, but he's had 2 terrible races. Like, I know he's been stuck in traffic and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I know he couldn't get past Kvyat in Australia. He struggled in Bahrain to get any incredible points. I think he got 8th, if I remember correctly. But when you see Max Verstappen there challenging for a podium and Gasly's down there in 8th, it's like, I don't know what's happening. Whether either Verstappen and Ricciardo were these incredible drivers, whether Gasly is just having a tough year. But you know what Red Bull are like. You know what Red Bull are like. And if they don't get the results, especially in the main team, you're going to get kicked out. And that's a tough thing, especially for a young driver to take. I mean, people like Danny Kvyat have, I'd say, somewhat bounced back from it. They've learnt from it, and they're trying to move forward with their careers. But I don't know how many drivers out there can take that, getting sort of pushed out of the top team if it happens to him. I really hope it doesn't happen to Gasly. He doesn't deserve it. He's had a great run of points finishes over the last couple of years in the smaller teams. But at the same time, he needs to up his game. He can't be that far off Verstappen for the rest of this season. I don't think many of us expected him to be right on Verstappen straight away, but he needs to match Verstappen in some races this year. It can't be a whole season of Gasly continually behind Verstappen, because that's a sackable offence in Red Bull. I mean, they need 2 competitive drivers to get the constructors' points, and right now the points are very much coming from one side of the garage. So Gasly really needs to up his game. He needs to honestly get a top 6 in this race here. He needs to prove he's got it within him to get home a consistent result. And I think many of us thought he was going to be jumping to podium straight away. I mean, I don't think the Red Bull car is quite where we thought it was going to be. I think there were a lot of rumours throughout the winter testing period that they were going to be a bit closer to the front than they actually are. But nonetheless, I think Gasly, he needs to score a couple of podiums this year. He needs to legitimately beat Verstappen in a couple of races. Otherwise, I honestly feel by the end of the season, we could see someone completely different in that car. Whether that be Kvyat, Albon, Ticktum, I don't know. But, you know, Red Bull, they don't hang around. If they don't like what they're seeing, they don't hang around. So Gasly really does need to perform. And on that, I think we've got to be praising Alexander Albon. I mean, I really wasn't sure what to expect. He didn't have the greatest start to his junior career. We spoke about that in a video a couple of months ago. He was a bit rocky, actually, in the early stages of his career. He wasn't really putting home any decent results in Formula Renault way back in the start of his career. But, you know, as his career went on, he consistently got better and better and better. And that got to running for the championship last year in Formula 2. And I thought at that point, okay, he's had a year extra experience on these guys. He's a bit older than the rest of them. You know, he probably won't adapt to Formula 1 as quickly as the rest of those guys that went into Formula 2 straight away and, you know, but went for the championship in Norris and Russell. But actually, I don't know if it's just because, you know, we just definitely can't see the potential of Russell in that Williams. But I think Albon's really surprised me. I thought he was going to be quite bad in the start of the season. I'm not going to lie. I thought he was going to really struggle. So the fact he's come in, pretty much matching Kvyat straight away, which is a bit of a tough one to take for me personally, but the fact he's come in straight away and already matching Kvyat is great for him. It's fantastic for him. I mean, he's doing a mega job and he definitely deserves it because he's obviously put in a lot of work over the winter to make sure he's ready for his first season in Formula 1, even though it was quite a late call-up in comparison to the rest of the guys on the grid. So we've got to praise him. He did a fantastic job in Australia and Bahrain. He probably was going to score points, I think, in Australia, I remember correctly, but he had some issues there with pitting at the wrong time. And for Bahrain, drove an incredible race. Yes, he got a bit lucky with 2 cars retiring right near the end, but still, he scored points. He's now ahead of Kvyat in the championship. I better not get too angry about that, not sweating too much. But overall, I don't think the Toro Rosso car is quite good enough to score points legitimately right now. I think that both Kvyat and Albon are a pretty similar level right now, which I think is good. I think that's great for Toro Rosso. That's what they need, 2 very similarly level drivers to get points when needed. I think Kvyat was going to probably be on the same level as Albon by the end of the race. Just saying, but, you know, thanks to Giovinazzi destroying this race. Anyway, I'm taking this down a personal route. Don't need to take it down there. But nonetheless, Toro Rosso, I think, are probably like the 7th best team on the grid, I'd say, right now. You know, you've got the big 3, then you've got the 3 I was talking about earlier, then I think maybe Toro Rosso or Sauber, around that area. I think just Kimi's being Kimi. That's the reason why the Sauber looking so good. I think he's definitely outperforming it. But nonetheless, yeah, I think Toro Rosso probably can't legitimately score points, but, you know, they do a right strategy, the drivers on it, I think they will score points from time to time this year. But once again, they're probably going to be scrapping for the last couple of points in the running order, obviously. So, yeah, I think we just got to praise Alexander Albon. A great start to the season, and I hope he continues it because he's got my lucky number 23. Then we've also got to note the Racing Point. I think they've had a bit of a mediocre start to the season. Not exactly sure what's happening with those guys, considering they've got a substantial amount more money than they have over the last couple of years. They seem to have actually gone backwards, and I don't know really what to say about that, but it's just tough for them. I mean, they've got to learn from it and move on, but at the same time, I think that they're probably on a similar, I don't know, I think they're on a similar level to Toro Rosso and I think Sauber, Toro Rosso and Racing Point are all around there, and they're probably just behind those other 3 teams I was speaking about earlier, and definitely ahead of Williams. So those guys are all going to be battling for the lower end of the points, considering there will always be retirements in Formula 1 races. So I think Racing Point, they've got a bit of work to do. They've got 2 decent drivers in their lineup. Both have scored points this year, but at the same time, they obviously don't quite have the car underneath them to go for regular points. So that's something I need to work on this year, and definitely up their game a bit and spend a bit more money. They've got the money now, they can spend it. So it'll be interesting to see. And just a point about Williams, not really anything they can do. They're going to be the lowest running team for the majority of this season until they get a good upgrade, update, whatever. Then they're going to be right at the back, which is really tough to see in my opinion, because I like both their drivers, the whole team. It's a great British team. They won so many constructors titles and drivers titles in the past. To see them being the worst team in Formula 1 for so many years, again, not the last. Maybe, yeah, last year, but then maybe not the few before it. But over the last sort of 15 years, Williams have been the worst team on probably like 3 or 4 occasions, which is tough to take. So, yeah, a bit frustrating. But nonetheless, my top 10, what's it going to be? So, I mentioned earlier, I think Vettel's going to win. Controversial opinion probably, but I'm going to say it. Vettel's going to win. Leclerc in second, Hamilton in third, Bottas in fourth. Very basic top 4 really. Verstappen to go 5th. Then it changes up. Midfield is always the hard one to predict. I'm going to go Hülkenberg P6, Raikkonen P7, P8 Gasly, P9 Norris, P10 Magnussen. It's probably not going to work out like that. I'm aware. It's probably not going to work out like that, but I'm just excited to see what happens. And if 1 or 2 of those are right, I'll be happy. So that is pretty much it for this video. Let me know your top 10 for the Chinese Grand Prix in the comment section down below. I'd really appreciate that. And also, we've got to mention Unidays. A massive thank you to those guys for sponsoring today's video. There'll be a link in the description down below, so be sure to check out that. That'd be massively appreciated. It really helps me out. So just go down there, check out the link and sign up if you want to get involved with loads of great discounts. That'd be fantastic. So that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you have a fantastic day. It's been Alex and I'm out of here. Goodbye.